which is obviously our roadmap and what the students are learning. We have a number of systems in place. The curriculum review process was started 3 years ago by the district. That year we looked at science, technology, and engineering to make sure that the program that we have in place is up to the highest standards, and if not, they created an action plan of what they're going to do between then and the next review cycle 5 years down the road to improve it. Last year we looked at English language arts, which I know you all are well versed in because you watched every school committee meeting and you saw my presentation and read the PowerPoint online. But we looked at the English language arts program, and how do we do that? We think about what is the ideal program. We develop a vision. This is what we want our English program or our math program to look like. We conduct a self-study. Where are we in terms of meeting that? We as the educators, are we teaching this? Are we teaching it in this way? What do we see happening inside the building? We look at the standards to make sure that what we're providing the students in terms of material and resources and content is above and beyond what Massachusetts requires. We surveyed you, thank you for all who participated, to say, what do you see at home? And are we meeting your expectations in terms of teaching reading and writing? We analyzed data, how are students doing on our assessments that are common between our courses, on standardized tests, whether it's MCAS, SATs, ACTs, are there areas we need to critique and focus more on? And then we, again, create that action plan of the English department of the next 5 years. What do we need to do and change to create that vision? This year we're undergoing math, next year will be history, it continues. Access, we're really, as Andrew talked about, focusing on access to the curriculum. We are responsible for making sure that every child in the system has access to the curriculum. So while many of our students are taking APs and honor level courses and are excelling, we need to make sure that every child gets what they need and they can meet it at their level, whether that's a different text, getting at the same material, whether that's supports in the classroom, whether that's an extra dose of math or literacy in the middle school. We need to make sure that the students have access, and our assistant principals in each of the 4 schools are really looking at what are the standard best practices that should be happening in all classrooms for all kids, checking for understanding, giving rubrics and exemplars so students know what they're aiming for, breaking down large assignments into small tasks, providing calendars, giving extra time if a child needs extra time, providing interventions, working with students in small groups inside the classroom, outside the classroom for those who need it, and then going to the 3rd level of access, which is for students who might need individualized or one-on-one support, making sure that's available so the students, again, can progress the curriculum. We continue to look at course offerings and programs. We heard loud and clear through the entry process that STEAM, as we know, is not going away, and that we need to do more around here to make sure that our students are going to be prepared to interface with the technology and the engineering and the arts and creativity that are waiting for them outside of the doors. So we have been specifically looking at STEAM courses in other districts, doing some research. What is it that we can do new and differently for our kids to make sure that they're dabbling in this and getting a solid foundation before they graduate? The elementary schools have adopted some augmented reality, which is neat because now when they study history, they can actually travel to the place and see something in the museum and it's right there and you can almost touch it. The middle school, Sandra Samarco and Brett McCoy, I must say they're doing a fantastic job. They're doing lots of coding events. They've had kids from Olin and MIT come in and work with the kids, breaking down barriers or stereotypes about what that engineering student should look like. And at the high school level, not only is Nick Brown at the high school, again, looking at what other schools are offering, we are waiting for the state to eventually change requirements in that eventually all students are going to be required to take a computer science course before they graduate, which means that we here in Dover-Sherburne will need to change our graduation requirements. And we will do that in the near future. But we're, too, also bringing in extra programs. In fact, last week, we got to see a gentleman who I think is a dad from Dover. He's an expert in artificial intelligence, and he came into the high school one day after school, and any student was invited to come chat with him. He did an explanation on what artificial intelligence is, what the world is changing, the exponential curve of how technology is just going to fly off the charts, and are we ready for that, and what does that mean for humans, and how do we protect ourselves and make sure that there's stopgaps all those things. But over the next 6 to 8 weeks, they're going to look into machine learning, and they're going to develop a prototype for a machine to be able to solve some sort of problem with megadata that they set up. So we're continuing to make sure.
Add one thing to that?
Yes, absolutely.
Our male students were well represented. Unfortunately, there was not one female student, which I think is a shame and wrong. So if you have daughters who you think have a mind for science or math or just an interest, and they may not have figured it out yet that they have a mind for it, have them listen for this or ask Mr. Smith about it, because that gentleman actually was really interested in making sure that we get some girls to attend as well.
Thank you. Along the same note, looking at course offerings and programs, having come from Latin school where you have the economies of scale, and because you have so many students and so many teachers, you can offer a number of courses. Then coming to DS where we have a much smaller population, there's only so many courses you can offer, and you have to fill them to a certain extent to be able to run them. But there are interests among our kids of things they'd love to take. And for so long we have been saying, we'd love to, but we can't. So we're looking into virtual high school as an opportunity for kids to be able to access courses, 1, 2, 3 of them together, a course online, with the supervision and facilitation of one of our own faculty members to help them get through, so that those Johns Hopkins courses that you've been paying for in math and engineering are actually built into the course to make sure that we're challenging them to their level and making sure that they have access to the courses of interest to them to prepare them for life after DS. Then the FLES program, for those of you who have lived, actually, anybody with 5th grader or younger knows the FLES program. It's foreign language in the elementary school. So the oldest cohort is now in 5th grade, and they're going to be moving up to the middle school next year. So these kiddos have had Spanish built into their schedule, 20 to 30 minutes every day, total immersion. Our elementary teachers are absolutely amazing. They can get you to understand everything just with the way they look at you and the way they use their hands and do their dancing. And the kids look at them like they're crazy for the first year, and then by 1st grade they're into it, they get it, they love it. And I personally have seen the positive results of that through my own kiddos. We're preparing for the middle school to adopt these kids next year. The middle school has been trained to be the first exposure to world language for a long time. So the 6th grade teachers are thinking about how they're going to adapt the curriculum and be prepared for students who are technically 1 year into a foreign language. It sounds a little crazy to say they're only 1 year in when you take 6 years, 30 minutes a day at the developmental level. At the end of the day, it really equates to 1 year of language. So we're looking at our program. Our Spanish teachers have been visiting each other at the elementary and middle levels, looking to Holliston and Brookline, who have FLES programs K through 12 now, so we can continue to learn from them. But also starting to adopt the proficiency model where, like many of us, learned Spanish or French or Latin in a textbook. You went chapter by chapter by chapter, and then when you finally had your chance to travel abroad, you're standing trying to order a crepe and you're thinking, how do I conjugate this verb? Oh no. These kiddos, it's proficiency. It's more about speaking and listening and get to the gist of it without having to be perfect about it. So it is a change in philosophy, but it's backed by research. And so our elementary teachers get it, our elementary kids get it, and it's starting to move up through the system as we do more and more training with our teachers.